Hello everyone and welcome to Java Forever course. Today we are going to start a new chapter called Introduction to Functions. And this is a very important concept in Java or any programming language for that matter. This is a fundamental concept that you will use over and over again. You will be writing your own functions or methods. You will be using somebody else's methods or functions. And the word functions or methods or subprograms are interchangeable. Sometimes I'll use the word method, sometimes I'll use the word function, and it's totally fine. There is really no difference between these two. It depends on somebody how people use it. Now, what really a function is? Before I give a theoretical definition, let me first give you a couple of examples. The idea of function is everywhere in real life. For example, if you do not know how to cook food, if you're like me who do not know cooking, you tend to go and ask your mother, or you go to a restaurant and ask for food. Even if you know cooking and you want to eat some outside, you go to a restaurant and you order a food. Let's say you order chicken biryani. Now, when you order biryani, you give a name that, hey, this is what I'm looking for. You tell that you don't, the level of spices in the food, right? And then sometimes people also say that, hey, I don't want a lot of salt, reduce salt, and all of that. All of this is the input to your order. And then based on that, the chef cooks biryani and give it back to you. You do not really know where the chicken came from, what was the temperature of the oven, and the type of rice and all of that part. You leave everything to restaurant chef and he cooks it for you. All you care is a good, tasty, yummy meal on your table. That is the whole concept of, in real life, what we call it service. You go to a bank and you want to apply for a loan. You don't really need to calculate the loan, everything. All you need to do is to give your income, give your some more details, and based on that, the loan officer in the bank will tell you whether you can get a loan or not. That's another service. It calculates whether you are eligible for a loan or not. As I said, there are tons of examples where you take somebody's help for something. If you pause and think, you're always using those services. In Java or programming language, those services are nothing but functions. Somebody has done it, somebody can do better than you, you just avail that service, you avail that function. In real life or even in code, a service is basically a reusable piece of code that somebody has written or you have written, and you are going to reuse it in your somewhere else in your code. So every service, or that's why I call this a subprogram, because it is like a Java program, but it cannot run on its own. You write a piece of code, here, you wrote a program, and I call it as function. You wrote a piece of code, which does something. It's in simplest form, it calculates the interest rate, right? Or interest for a given principal, rate of interest, as well as time. It will calculate. It does some magic inside. You don't care. As long as you or your program gives input and this function returns the output back to you. Now, wherever you need it or whoever else is needing this service can call this function and get the result back. As you can see, this function is reused multiple times by multiple people, right? Or at multiple programs. So one function can be used by multiple programs. This is a program 2, this is program 1, and so on. Now, with this, every function needs some input. Like when you ordered biryani, you say the menu name, you say less salt, you say less spices, that's the input. Now, the processing is that on the temperature the food was cooked, the type of rice, the amount of water, all of that is processing, which we don't care. We just focus on input. And the people who wrote the function, does this processing of the data, input data. It takes the input, does some more processing, calculates interest rate and everything. And then finally, it generates some output. Every function takes some input, it does some processing, and it gives you some output. And we'll look into it in detail, but that is the whole idea of function. A function is a reusable piece of code, one or more lines of code that does something very specific and gives the output back to us. And the word I emphasize is reusability. We use it, we write functions because we can use it multiple times. With that, we'll look a little bit more deeper into functions and how to write functions, the details of the function, what is input, output, and all of that part in the next class. I'll see you guys again. Thank you very much.
Thanks for watching. Do subscribe and press the bell icon for more videos.